Okay, joining us now to discuss is Mike Leon, NTD News contributor and host of the podcast, Can We Please Talk? Also joining us is trial attorney Jeremy Rosenthal, a founding partner of Rosenthal, Kalabus and Therrian. Good morning to you both. So Mike, in your view, is this a major victory, as Trump puts it?
Hey, good to see you, first and foremost, Don. Is it a major victory? That's something that I'm sure Jeremy's going to, give us a little bit more of the legal analysis and how this will all play out. But I will say right now, in terms of all of these cases right now, the biggest thing that's coming from my lens, Don, as a journalist turned podcaster who's asking questions about this of not only the Justice Department and DHS and other agencies and officials, is really what mentioned there, Caroline Levitt, was, are we complying with the court? Are we giving, these folks their due process? Are we giving them the right to that due process? And I think there's a lot of mixed messages that are coming out of the administration with respect to how they're administering all of these, laws and regulations and the way ICE is carrying out some of this enforcement. So is it a major victory? I think time will tell. There's still some more things and legal challenges and hurdles coming up, obviously, with like that Maryland case, for example. I know Chief Justice Roberts has said they're going to give the court a little bit more time to look at and review that case specifically. But is it a win? Time will tell, I think.
Okay, Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
It's not a loss. And the Alien Enemies Act, we talk a lot about it, but let's sort of break it down and talk about what it really says. There's two main components to the Alien Enemies Act. One is, the linchpin is it a time of war? Well, we know it's a time of war if war is declared by a foreign entity. There is another really important phrase in the Alien Enemies Act that I think the administration is going to say that this was the victory here, and that is a pervasive incursion by a foreign entity. So think of it like this. There's war, and then there's war. The administration would say, well, do we have to wait until September 12th to really start taking these types of things seriously? Can we use the Aliens Enemy Act prior to something like that happening? Now, the other part of the statute that I think the administration has wholly ignored here is that it is administered by the judiciary, that you are required to have hearings, and that people above and beyond their constitutional right to due process are entitled to due process and hearings under this very statute. So it was not a loss for the administration, I wouldn't say. I'd say it was at least a partial victory. So they may be able to use at least part of this statutory framework going forward for deportations, but it's very clear that they're not going to do so in the manner that they did, at least looking backwards.
Okay, Jeremy, just to be very clear here, does the court's ruling imply that the Alien Enemies Act can be applied even when there's no formal war, just to be clear?
It left that question open, and they didn't answer that. Again, the ruling was, everybody pointed to it and declared victory to some degree. So you would think that if the Supreme Court thought that it was wholly bad, they would have enjoined the whole thing and stopped it and shut it down altogether. So I think when push comes to shove, when we are debating this thing in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, that's going to be the issue that I think is going to be front and center, the pervasive incursion. Again, we know that if another country has declared war, we know that we're at a time of war, and then the statute would be at least actionable, if not unconstitutional, wholly unconstitutional. But what you're looking at is that invasive incursion. And another issue here too is it has to be a foreign entity, a foreign government, a sovereign that is behind that invasive incursion. In 9/11, you could really make that case, because you could say that the Taliban, that in Afghanistan, that was state-sponsored terror. But you don't really have that issue with Tren del Aragua here. So, and MS-13, you don't necessarily have the governments behind there. So this is going to be a really tight issue going forward in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. But again, time will tell where this goes on. For the time being, everybody got a partial loss. Everybody got a partial victory yesterday.
Okay, Mike, your thoughts, your reactions, and does this open the door for future presidents to use this act?
Yeah, I mean, look, Don, you and I are not legal beagles, and look at Jeremy trying to explain this, right? And I think this is probably the frustrating thing that I've heard from folks that maybe affiliated with some of these cases, immigration attorneys that I've talked to. It's like there's law, settled law, right? And then there's the application of the law, and then what Jeremy's describing, right? Like we're not currently at war with a foreign entity right now. So the application of this, the way the Supreme Court ruled on this, the biggest thing that I would encourage people is to consult immigration attorneys. But let me go back to the messaging part of this just for a second, Don, is that if you just look over the last week and just look at the Maryland case, for example, with respect to Garcia and him being in the El Salvador prison, the United States already admitted, and the Trump administration admitted, it was an administrative error to send him. The Justice Department does not have any authority to request him being sent back. That's a different agency altogether that would do that. Yet Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, is out here claiming, with no evidence that has been shown in any of these court documents, that he's a member of this gang. Those are three different things, three different mixed messages, all relating to one specific case. And two of those things are true, and one of those is not. And so this is the problem that we're having right now, where we're going to have to ask the Jeremys of the world, what are my legal rights here? Because there are going to be people, and there already are, of this 238 that have been mass deported as part of the Alien Enemies Act, that are not gang members. They have not been proven to be gang members in a court of law, and they have not been afforded their due process, and they've already been extradited to a country not of their origin.
Listen, if we even think you owe us money, you won't know what hit you. We'll put liens on everything you own. Raid your bank accounts, retirement fund, pension. You'll open up your paycheck and cry because we'll already have the money.
Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Okay, Jeremy, what are you thinking?
Well, no, Mike's right. I mean, look, there's so much here to unpack, and there's so much damage that has already been done, and that, frankly, I don't know how it gets undone. We can stop these things going forward, but what does that do to the man who was shipped out? That the administration, in a rare instance of them admitting that they made a mistake, I mean, what's this do for them? Look, and what I think people have to sort of recognize going forward is that what kind of a country do we want to be here? Do we put people in the Thunderdome in a cage where their lives are in danger because of a tattoo? How would El Salvador treat somebody like this? And then how would America treat somebody like this? People get frustrated by the process, and they get frustrated by due process. But your constitutional rights come from the Constitution. And the U.S. Constitution, to be very clear, it applies in part to citizens when it comes to your right to vote. It applies to persons in the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth, 15th Amendment. All of these rights apply to people, meaning that if you are on our soil, we're going to treat you with dignity, with respect, and you will have your day in court. Who are you supposed to explain that your tattoo is of a soccer ball and a English Premier team? Who are you supposed to explain that to? A judge or a jailer, right? How would they treat somebody like this in a foreign country? And are we as Americans guilty of this same thing? I think that these are the fundamental questions that go beyond talking about the Constitution and go beyond the analysis of, well, what does the statute say here and there? So again, I just have a hard time struggling with how do we undo the damage that's already been done?
Okay, we're running out of time here. Maybe, Mike, you get the last word here.
Yeah, I mean, again, Jeremy, and I defer to his legal analysis and all of this, but I think the biggest takeaway that people should have right now, beyond the frustration of what has been playing out across these different stories, is really understand the law. If you are somebody right now and your visa has expired and you were part of the TPS group, like down here in Miami, where there's a lot of effective Cubans and Venezuelans within that group, consult an immigration attorney. Some of these things used to be civil in nature. They are now criminal in nature. The Trump administration has clearly said over these last 60 or so days that they have a different policy position towards immigration enforcement, specifically things that could be the most mundane, as a visa expiring and you not scheduling an appointment, to something that could rise in criminal of nature. So in order to protect yourself right now, make sure you're consulting the Jeremys of the world out there and make sure you know what your rights are and that you are protected.
Well, all right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for coming on today.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.